What's up, folks? KL Smith here, bringing you guys episode number 11 of the MDRN Future Podcast. Today we are talking about some EV stuff, and we're going to round off with Sneaker Haul 2020. Talk about some L's and dubs that I got for the year on my growing sneaker collection. So let's hop right into it. Let's first start off with GM. They unveiled the Hummer EV prototype. If you guys remember a couple videos on GM and the Hummer and talking about what that means coming into the space, how it's going to fare against the Tesla Cybertruck. Things are looking pretty good. Just a general recap, the Hummer EV is 112,000 at the high end, super truck as GM calls it. This thing is a beast on paper. What we saw during the unveiling was CG. So people thought initially that there was a lot of vaporware, wasn't sure when this thing was going to come out, if GM was actually going to make the thing. But of course, they're committed. It seems like this is going to be a real thing. They signed someone like LeBron to be the spokesperson for this. And if you don't know the backstory there, one of LeBron's very first vehicles was a Hummer straight out of high school, basically. And so it seems only appropriate that the very first time after the vehicle was essentially cut from their production lineup to make a debut as an EV from a gas guzzling beast to an EV, and having LeBron be the spokesperson definitely makes sense. And I think that one of the things that I really like about this is that of all the different vehicles they could really attach to in GM's lineup, the Hummer had enough culture around it, so to speak, to I think elevate the status of it a little bit more in the eyes of the public and the media. I don't necessarily know if it'll catch on and translate to mainstream, but at least from I gotta have this new thing with celebrities and media, at least on the sports side especially, they might get a little edge up there because of the Hummer's history with celebrities and athletes. LeBron, case in point. So they unveiled the prototype. They've seen it, rolling around. On my blog, the MDRN Future blog, I just posted a little bit about it. Here's the video, kind of getting into things. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. You can kind of see them putting together the Hummer itself. Again, prototyping. And then right at the end of the video, you'll see it moving, right? So this is the part where I think a lot of people got excited. It's driving around. This is not CG. It's real. So I think that's what has people excited. In a statement, they talked about the testing. GMC Hummer EV has arrived at GM's Milford Proving Grounds to continue validation. Tests will head to northern Michigan to run through the team's grueling winter testing process. I'm interested to see how this thing is going to fare in the wintertime. And if you have an EV, you know that basically battery life is cut 25-30% during the winter, unless you have something like a heat pump, which is a Model Y, to account for the battery being degraded in that period. We will document the journey and share updates in the coming weeks and months. The Hummer EV's development speed was enabled by extensive virtual testing, which will be a hallmark of GM programs moving forward, and it will begin initial production in fall 2021. Now, I found that date to be quite fascinating because the Hummer seems like it could technically be on pace to beat out the Cybertruck, which now seems like, which we'll get into in a little bit, is going to get pushed into early 2021, making it a little late to the party at this point. If Rivian gets theirs out here, basically in the spring of 2021, maybe a little bit later, maybe they'll hit spring or summer of 2021. And then you get the first round of the Hummer EVs rolling out in the fall. It's not going. I don't think it will make Tesla as appealing, being third to the party. Now, if they were second, I think maybe that's still a possibility. But from what we've seen, they could be third, and so this is a good opportunity for Hummer to take some wind out of the sails, maybe a little bit for Tesla, and at least put some pressure on them. But again, we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. Now, next up, I gotta mention this because I thought it was hilarious that Peyton Manning was spotted at this event with Ford. It's just the picture that he has that makes it so funny. But Ford, they sponsored a golfing event, and because the Mach-E is right around the corner, basically delivery should start any day now. Any day they should be starting. I've not seen anything saying that someone has one yet, other than some of these celebrities that we're going to take a look at. But I thought this was just hilarious looking at this picture. So you got Charles Barkley, Phil Mickelson, and Peyton Manning. And this picture of Peyton, I don't know if this does it justice. Maybe if I don't know if it'll do it like this, and I zoom in a little bit. But his face right there, it looks like he's confused about what's happening. And so this is just an unflattering picture that they have of him, like, where does this thing go? Is this what I'm doing right here? Is this how EVs work? I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And you see Barkley coming out, and there's Phil Mickelson, but that picture of Peyton really had me just dying in stitches. But this thing is right around the corner. My wife actually really likes the look of the Ford Mustang Mach-E. It didn't make my top 10 list, but it's a contender. I mean, it looks good. It doesn't look bad. I just am not into it as much as I think the Model Y is just better. But Ford is, they're kind of banking, I think, quite a bit on the Mustang brand and name. Last I heard, reservations were really, really good. They could be, phenomenal. I don't know, but it's basically a situation where I think that they have a good chance to gain some traction. They're a little bit late to the crossover SUV stage. I mean, they're going to be like the fifth or sixth EV at this point. And there you have like Tesla, obviously, Audi, Jaguar, I-Pace. What am I missing? I know I'm missing quite a few here at this. The ID4 with Volkswagen, which is maybe, I don't think they beat them. I think Volkswagen's going to come in later. But it's just a number of other folks that are all vying for this crossover SUV space, which is quite crowded at this point. And I just don't know if this will make, I mean, again, it's the Mustang, it has a Mustang name, so I think there will be some folks there. I just feel like those Mustang folks really don't like EV people, enthusiasts, and we'll see. Anyway, moving on to some Tesla stuff. So Tesla had pretty busy last couple weeks since the last time I did the podcast. First off, they we'll get to the stock, but they set a sales record in China. They hit 21,604 made in China vehicles. And you guys can see here's kind of what I'm looking at. This is on the MDRN Future blog. And they increased, that's a 78% increase over October. I think the key thing here with China is that they made so many. The production facility out in Shanghai basically shipped some out to Europe because I don't know if they necessarily couldn't hit the demand there in China, but I think they needed to fulfill some of the demand in Europe, and the shipping there is just easier, I think, or more cost efficient from China to Europe rather than from the US, which I believe has to go through the Pacific, through like the Panhandle, and then cross there and then go into the Atlantic, which is, I think, super expensive. Last I remember, that's the process there. So I feel like this China factory is really kicking butt, and if they get up the the Gigafactory in Berlin, and they get that Austin one up here really soon, man, they're going to be pumping out numbers next year. So the fact that China is able to do this pretty insane. So you guys already see some of the other stuff we're going to talk about. The stock price on a tear since the S&P 500 inclusion announcement happens on December 21st. They'll knock out apartment investment and management in the S&P 500, and then they'll bump out in the S&P 100 Occidental, I think is how you say that, petroleum company, oil company, out of the S&P 5 or 100. So this past week, the stock took a little bit of a dip from the high. I think it's sitting at like 610 or something like that. But it's still just crazy levels. So here's the part where we're getting to. The Cybertruck is being quote unquote delayed. We'll see if that's the case. I still don't quite believe it 100%, only because there's several things that I think really don't quite line up. I think it'll still hit fall 2021, maybe towards the end of the year, rather than slipping to 2022. I think that and again, I've heard Sandy Monroe say this, I believe this, they kind of sandbag a little bit so that they don't necessarily get expectations too high. But you got to look at a couple different things when you're analyzing this. First, they didn't send it to everyone. They sent it to folks potentially to folks that didn't already own a Tesla. So I didn't get this email. I have a reservation holder. According to Electric, who posted this, they said that this went out to folks that had a reservation on hold. I did not receive this email, but again, it could be because I am a Model 3 owner. So there's a possibility there. And then when they suggested that there could be a delay, they were pushing folks to lease a Tesla in the meantime. So again, if I already have a Tesla, you're not going to get me to lease something I don't want. I want the Cybertruck. So, to hell with all the other ones, to be honest, unless it was, maybe I could test, a Roadster. I would lease a Roadster. My wife might not like that, but that could be a possibility. But anyway, the other thing that I think makes this a little fuzzy is that they are doing 3-shift, 24/7 construction on the Gigafactory in Austin. So this is round the clock, no breaks. They're trying to get this thing up as quickly as possible. And that was a shift that happened, I want to say, either at the beginning of November or late October. And I just don't necessarily see them not hitting, the May 2021 timeline when they said initial completion of basically the facility will be done. There are some factors that could be messing with this as well. There's a mention, if we scroll a little bit down here on the article that I put up, that they are securing steel from a steel supplier out of Sinton, Texas, called Steel Dynamics, and their facility in Sinton won't be begin fully operational until fall 2021. So again, fall 2021 seems to be the general window. Again, I just feel like based on when the facility will be done in May, they're probably going to get some preliminary pre-production models out the door. I think the press is going to go in. They're going to find someone to source some of the steel that they need. They're going to get some models out, and then if they've partnered with Sinton, which is what this news team reported in this video. I'm not going to click on this one because it's pretty boring news stuff. But, the plant there is supposed to be for Tesla, and this deal is supposed to be for Tesla. So based on what I read about this, there are some unique things that Steel Dynamics is going to be offering with their steel when this thing is made. So it could improve the overall build of the Cybertruck. So we'll see. And then, there's a couple last things that I want to hit here. One is speculation that Tesla is moving to California. This is just based on Elon moving from California to Texas. I found this interesting because if you remember not necessarily the beginning of the pandemic, but it was like maybe a month or two into it. I guess technically as long as we've been in it now, it'd be the beginning. But, they got shut down. and there was a big spat between him and some of the local politicians there, and he was like, "Yo, we're getting the hell out of California." And it seems like he's basically holding true to his word at this point. He's left. It's not clear whether or not he's going to move from California to Texas, but from analysts that have dug into the business of this, they believe it seems like it would be a good move, but it's going to cost some money up front. I want to say like $1 billion, basically, from what I've read so far, but they'll recoup it pretty quickly. From a state tax and all the taxes and how good Texas is for business, I don't necessarily know if this is going to happen or not, just because all the logistics around it. But it certainly is interesting to have the head honcho of the company move out there. And I think he's making it a focus to be there because this Austin factory is going to be so important, in addition to having SpaceX out there. So this is really interesting and compelling stuff. I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but if they do move, there seems like there's this continued exodus from California. And when I lived in Austin, which was from 2010, basically 2011 to 2014, there was a lot of folks from California moving out there then. So it's definitely been something of like I said, an exodus from California to Austin. And it's just, the area is cool. The cost of living is much less, though it's rising. It was rising when I was there. The people are pretty friendly. Texas could be blue pretty soon. I don't know if that's good or bad, but but we'll see. The last thing that I want to touch on with Tesla is this big Q4 production push, where Elon sends out this email. I don't understand how that company always get these email leaks. I don't know if it's like they purposely do it. Is there like a rogue employee that feels like they got to leak everything to the news? Like, how does this happen all the time? I don't get it. I don't get it. Do they get paid? Like, there has to be someone that's like, yo, you give me 5Gs, I'll send you Elon's email. Just send me 5Gs. And that's just the same person. That's their go-to person. Somebody in there is leaking all of his emails, and I don't necessarily know if that's good or bad, but maybe they want this based on them getting rid of their PR team, and this is the way they get their message out. But they're going for this big Q4 push. They want to hit 500,000 units for the year. From a volume standpoint, seems probable that they're going to do it. If not, they'll hit really, really close. One of the things that I want to couple with this is, Elon has said multiple times that he believes that the stock is overvalued and that Tesla's, he's just kind of in awe and shock that the valuation is so high, that they're being rewarded this early for, I think, the vision that they have maybe 5 years from now or 7 years from now, 10 years from now, somewhere in that time frame where everything catches up to what he's saying and things are just humming along. But he also said in this leak that, this is a separate leak, the first one, that they're going to get crushed like a souffle under a sledgehammer if they can't meet production, that any mistakes are made, they have to be very careful about their spending, all of these things. And it just seems like if he knows that the valuation is too high and he's concerned about the stock price, those two things don't really add up to me. And sending an email out, other than maybe he's trying to lower it by setting expectations with the public that, hey, we're a little concerned about the stock price, and if we make any mistakes, then it's just gonna it's gonna dip. And then there's the production crunch, which is hey, we gotta do whatever we can do to hit this big huge push to end the quarter to hit 500,000. They got to do some pretty crazy numbers, and just considering the pandemic and all the strain that they have probably on people that are either getting sick or just have a lot of things to just digest. I don't know what the culture of it's like there in the factory where they're producing the vehicles, but it has to be intense to want to have the expectation that everyone has on you, knowing that the stock is just like booming, and that Elon sends out out an email like, "Hey, we gotta make this quota, um, so that we don't get crushed like a souffle under a sledgehammer." That's a lot of pressure. But yeah, that's all I got on Tesla. The last thing I want to end with is the Sneaker Haul 2020. Now, at the beginning of the year, I made a post that was basically on my blog, Modern Future blog, about the sneakers that I was trying to get in 2020. It's basically a purchase list. And obviously, when you make these lists at the beginning of the year, I did it in December 2019, so it's been almost a year now, maybe a little less. Um, you just don't know all the sneaker releases that are going to come out. So, the first thing I think that I want to show you guys is some of the sneakers that I had on this initial list. And I was trying to keep the purchases down to about 4 to 5 is what I was going for. 4 to 5 has been my year-to-year growth, other than maybe 2018 when I bought quite a few, and then I tapered back, and now I'm at like 4 to 5. This year I did a little bit more because something clicked after the Lakers won the championship, what we'll get into here in a second. But let's take a look at this. Scroll all the way up. So this is my original list in 2020. I was pretty hard into the Yeezy stuff, and I wasn't really looking at the Nike stuff. Now, at the the end of 2019, you got to remember what was happening. Why I was like really into this Yeezy stuff. It's coming off of, I won't say a 350 high, but like 350s were, I think, at the tail end of their, man, you got to get you all these new colorways with these 350s. Got to get some. It's had like the Citrons were out then, and some other ones. I can't remember all the ones in 2019 off the top of my head. Butters, I think, were that summer. And so then I think when it's November 2019, you get new colorways, or not new silhouettes, and it's like, whoa. Okay, what is this? What is this 700 V3? Now we elevated from the V2s. Now we're on V3. Okay, what is this 350 V3? Which turned out to be the 380, but originally it was the 350 V3. I was like, oh, okay. And then we got the basketball sneaker. Oh, the Quantums. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, Yeezy is going in, and I like the look of these. I think all of them have a much more futuristic feel and design and aesthetic, and that fits right into Ye's old like futuristic flow type thing. He's all in the Akira and anime and stuff that that has come off in his music videos and in his music, and it translates, I think, to his sneakers and his slides and all of the things that he's doing, his boots. And I think sometimes he goes a little overboard with like the 400s, for example, that was shown off not too long ago that look like marshmallows. But that's the vibe that you kind of get with him. It's futuristic, right? So I had the Quantums on there. I had the Azales or the Alvas. I was really interested in the blacks. Then I had these weren't this year, but I had the Air Fear of God ones, the oatmeals, which we'll talk about here, and a little bit about how I was able to get those specifically because they didn't release in 2020. But there were some triple blacks that came out, and there was a limited edition of like the first 100 that Jerry Lorenzo and Fear of God made in the collab. So those came out like November, I think. The Air Jordan 6 Hair, I saw that and I was like, ooh. And then I wanted some sneaker boots, or some ACGs. And the more I looked at this, I just haven't committed to this because I didn't like the ones that have come out this year. But there's some that I still could get. I just haven't really committed. It's like I got a StockX them, and I was like, maybe I'll just wait on that until I get a pair that I really, really want again, or something like that. So this was the original 2020 list. Let's flip over to. So here's the sneaker haul. So the black satins, those came out at the beginning of 2020. I want to say January, and I didn't get them at the beginning. I got them later because the resale for these was way lower than the market. the retail value rather. So, these are black and reds. The one thing you'll notice, and you can see it in the picture there, is that satin's crease on the toe box pretty quickly. I still like them. I would wear these. I have a couple fits that I'm going to show in some modern fit stuff, maybe Hot of Style series. But this is one that I just like the look of it. They look really clean, new. I don't really think these one of the few Jordan ones that don't wear well over time. So this is one that you like want to wear on occasion. I really like it. I talk about the Air Fear Got ones. Previously, I copped these off of a trade with inertias. So I had 700 V2 inertias. And I know some of you might be like, oh, you parted ways with inertias, but I really wanted these. These are like, I won't call them, well, they're my grails. They're my grails. I really like Lorenzo's style, especially his collection for clothing. I don't really necessarily like some of the earlier stuff, I would say before the fifth collection. But some of his stuff in sixth and seventh, which at least I want to say in the September, I really, really like the look of the seventh. It has a much more, I think this has been how I've been dressing or close to how I've been dressing for a while. And the fact that now he's in that space and has his headspace there, it's like, oh man, some of those is like, I wasn't even thinking of stuff like that. So I love that look. And these just fit really well with the kind of earthy tone, neutral colors that we've been in with clothing for a while. The Jordan Zoom 92 Union LAs are another one I copped. I really dig the Union LA collab. Literally took L's on everything else except these. So I was very happy about that. I went for everything. I went for the Jordan Deltas, the off noirs, the Guava Ice on the Jordan 4s, and just L. And we'll talk about some of the L's that I took that were notable. I featured this in a modern fit with a Flint and Tinder. Basically, you can see the jogger. I want to say Quar clothing joggers that I have. Anyway, I love these. They are going to fit well with some stuff that I have coming out here really soon. I got the LeBron 18 James gang. These are not coming out of the box. They're not coming out of the box. You got to understand. This is what changed my view on the year was the Lakers winning the championship, and it switched my mode with a few sneakers. And I was going for stuff on it. Like I was going for stuff, but I wasn't really like trying to secure stuff. There's a difference. And after they won the championship, I thought to myself, I was like, man, those dudes been in the bubble for almost 100 days. Basically, I think World Series was around that time window, right? So sports, as we have known it for basically the last 100 years, hasn't really had this type of event which completely changed how, if you look at the NFL right now, games are being canceled, rescheduled. Athletes are, this just happened the other day. Athletes are having to deal with COVID, but there's a collegiate athlete, I want to say his name is Keontae, who passed out on the court. He had COVID during the summer, and all the things, if you've been reading and looking at all the things about COVID, like this is a risk. And so the fact that the Lakers won the championship in this unprecedented year made these like collector's items. And I think that maybe when we look back like 20 years from now, people will go, oh shit, the LeBron 18s came out the year that COVID hit. I feel like these should skyrocket in value over time because the significance of the year is just unparalleled. So if there's LeBron 18s, you should be trying to cop them because this year was nuts. Like, think about it in the context and scope of that. I am not touching my LeBron 18 James gangs. I really want the melons or whatever that he wore at the last game. Those have not, as far as I can tell, those have not really made their way anywhere. I think you can get them on StockX. I might cop them, but listen to me. Let me reiterate this one more time. The year of COVID for sneaker releases should be very significant for collectors, not necessarily resellers, but collectors, because there's never been a year like this for sneaker drops. And if there's something special that came out this year, I feel like the nostalgia, the like you'll remember what happened when you got these. And that's something, growing up, I grew up in Akron, Cleveland, been a LeBron fan for a really long time. Basically the only player I look at, Zion now, but really the only player I've watched for a long time, Kobe too. I mean, Kobe, and Jordan when I was young. So there's been like 4 or 5 players. I can count the players on one hand that I've watched for basketball. I've been a football player. So let me say it one more time. It's collector's items. They're not coming out of the box. And I got to stress that. So that's the reasoning behind that. Unprecedented year. Jordan 1 Mochas. These are like probably the most popular sneakers, the most hype beast sneakers of the year, potentially. It's definitely a top contender. I wouldn't be surprised if the Mochas are like on everybody's top 10 list for the year before we close out, because they've just, I mean, they look like the Travis Scotts. The colorway is, again, the earthy tones. I said those are in, and they look good. I mean, they look really, really good. And then the other ones are Air Jordan 11 Jubilees, which I posted not too long ago. Again, I picked these up thinking about the year. This is 25th anniversary of the 11s. They look great. They also, basically shortly thereafter, they announced the Adapt 11s. I'm gonna try my best to get those, but I don't think it's gonna be possible. And technically, I don't know if I would include those in a 2020 cop or a 2021, because they come out on the 30th, which means you're probably not going to get them until the new year. You might get lucky. Maybe someone has them at a consignment shop or somewhere where you can pick them up, but I'm not going anywhere. So, the only way I'm going to get them is online, and I'm going to get them in 2021 if I'm able to. So that's why I got the Jubilees. I got a How to Style video. You're going to see some more of these coming up soon. And then I got my Yeezy Onyx 380s. These remind me, I started thinking about this more with this earthy tone. You can see the sneaker L's there too if you're peeking. But the 380s the Onyx remind me a little bit of, at least from a color tone, not the design, but just a color palette, thinking about how things are. They remind me of the Travis Scotts. And there's 2 things with that. One, earth neutral tones are in. I don't know how long they're going to be in, but they are in. And if you look at the Onyx, I was talking with my brother about this not too long ago, and I had him on the How to Style. It wasn't style; it was Driving in Style podcast for Modern Future. Not too long. It was like episode 9, I think. But I talked to him about the Onyx, and I asked him if he picks him up, and he said no, but he picks him up for his girlfriend. And I was surprised to hear him say that. But when you look at these, they're not true blacks. They're not. It's a black, and there's like a shade of gray or blue. And the part that people are kind of hung up on is the gum on the sole is definitely brown. It's like a gummy dark brown. But the upper, it looks purple. It looks like a purplish brown. And so I think that may be like throwing people off a little bit. But if you look at it from a distance, like it's clearly black. As you get closer, you just notice some of the distinct colors in the sneaker. And so this is another one that, for whatever reason, it reminds me a lot of the Mochas. Just the color palette, the colorway, the neutral tones. And so from a pairing standpoint, I feel like a lot of the same outfits that you might wear with the Mochas, you'll probably get away with wearing with the 380s. And so I'm actually really excited to do this, but I'm going to do this in a different style because I only have the 380s and the Aliens. And if they come out with like a triple black, a black on black on black, I will probably get those. I don't think I would get bread colorway in these 380s, but the 380s have been they're super comfortable. They've been my favorite new easy silhouette. Um, Now there's this what is it called? The 750, I think. 750s. Anyway, it's basically a Air Yeezy 2. I saw those and I was like, oh, I saw those the other day. Since I got the Aliens have been my favorite sneaker 2019, 2020. So they came out in December 19 is when I copped those, the Aliens, and they've been my favorite sneaker all the way up until now so far. So there's not been really anything else that and it's because of the comfort. Like you put them on, if you don't have a pair, man, you are completely missing out because they fixed the toe box issue with the 350s. I like wearing true to size. I hate going up and a size. I know that's like a really trivial thing. You get a 12 and a half, but the 12 and a half sizes go so fast. You never can find half sizes. So the fact that I have to go from I can see if I was like 11 and a half and I went up to a 12, but I'm a 12 and I go up to 12 and a half. 12 and a halves are never in. So it's one of the problems I have with the 350s is I can get a 12, but the toe box is going to pinch my toe a little bit because it's so narrow. And the 380s fix that issue. And that's one of those things where it bothers me. It bothers me. The list, 700 Alvas, which was on my original. I didn't go for them after that and try to get resale. Quantums, didn't go for any of those. Didn't go for the bariums, just went for the quantums. Didn't get those. That was like All-Star Weekend. Air Jordan 1 Balvins. I didn't try to get these for myself. Actually, there was like 7 people that tried to get them for someone else. All failed. Jordan 1 Black Metallic Golds. Nope. Jordan 4 off, the Union collab LA Off Noirs. The Union LA Off Noirs. Didn't get that. The Guava Ice, didn't get that. Jordan 4 Black Cats, I want to say those came out January 2020, didn't get those. The DMPs, the Jordan 6, nope. Those are those gold and black ones. The Hairs, which were in my list, didn't get those. And then the Off-Whites, both versions, the black and the sails for the Jordan 5s, didn't cop those. Those were all the sneaker L's I took in 2020 that were of relevance. The rest of them, and I wouldn't mention them, but I took some other L's too. So this has just been a year of really hard gets when it comes to sneakers because there's so many people are online now. You know, I would get a couple every now and again when I would go for stuff the last couple years, but this year, man, with so many people online, it's just not happening. So kudos to Nike for keeping the folks fiending on sneaker drops, right? Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, leave a like, subscribe so you guys don't miss any more of my podcast. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Ryan Little.